Moin and welcome to Ralfs Foto-Bude. Yeah, it's quite a while ago that I presented a new camera. The last one was the Sony Alpha 6000. Yeah, and today I present a new camera. It's a compact camera. The new one is the Canon PowerShot G1X Mark II. That's a compact camera, and the difference between this compact camera and a usual, or it's not a usual, but the most common compact camera like the SX700HS, also a PowerShot of Canon. The difference is that the G1X has a quite big sensor. The sensor is almost as big as a sensor of the APS-C DSLR cameras like the 70D or the 700D from Canon. The difference is not very big. So you have the sensor size of the G1X is 18.7 by 14 millimeter, and an APS-C sensor like the one of the 70D has 22.3 by 14.9 millimeter. So compared in the square millimeter, that's 261 square millimeter, and that's 332 square millimeter. So that's a difference. It is a difference, but it's not a real big difference. Compared to a normal compact camera like this one, the difference is very big because the size of this sensor, it's quite a very small sensor, is 6.2 by 4.6 millimeter. That means 29 square millimeter. So that's a ninth of the size of this. So this one is 9 times bigger than the sensor of the usual or of the most common compact cameras. So what does it mean? First point, we have much more better high ISO picture quality because the camera had a 13 megapixel sensor. And so you can imagine that these 13 megapixel on these quite big sensors, every pixel is real big, so catches a lot of light. And so even in low light situation, when you use high ISO, you have a real good picture quality with less noise. And so that's one of the advantages. The next advantage, bigger sensor, means much more depth of field, so you can work much more with the depth of field. When you make a portrait, the face is sharp, the background is unsharp, and that's one of the biggest advantage of this camera. The next point, the camera has a quite good lens, which starts with f2.0 in the wide angle and which ends at 3.9 in tele. So the range from the focal length, it starts from 24 millimeter in the wide angle compared to a full frame sensor and goes up to 120 millimeter. So that's a 5 times zoom. It's quite okay. It's not very big, but you get the most scenes. Therefore, the camera is absolutely perfect. You have a real nice wide angle for landscape and city, and you have also a light telezoom for getting some animals or your kids playing around. So it's quite a good range of focal length you get with the G1X, sorry. So this is the big advantage of the big sensor, which is in the G1X. So let's look at some of the features and look what's the difference to the former model, the G1X, without the Mark II. First difference is the control monitor. The control monitor of the G1X, you can move sideways, so you can see from the front in the turned monitor. The G1X Mark II, here you can turn the monitor like this, and you can turn it up like this, so you can make selfies. I will start the camera so you will see how this works. Here we are, and if I want to make a selfie, I just can look in the camera, make the picture, and you see here's my selfie. So this is the difference. And the next difference of the monitor, it is a touchscreen monitor. If you go to the menu, you will see we can here work with the touchscreen, and not only if you go to the menu, but you also can work with a touchscreen if you are touch focusing. You see, I just press the monitor and the camera focus. It's a little bit, so here we are. You see, press and focus again. Here we are. Oops, it's a replay, sorry, that. Here we are. You also can move the focus point, so if you're in a different setting, if you use here the 1 point autofocus, just give me a second to change the language, just a second, just made the German video before, so I want to change the language. Where's the language? Here we are. Go to English. So, and if you changed the AF frame to 1 point, you just can move the frame here. You see, I can move the square. You can change the size just by turning the front dial here. Here's a front dial in the camera. Just by turning the front dial, you can change the size. So that's quite nice to have these touchscreen. Next point, the difference between the G1X and the Mark II. You have a little bit more zoom. You have a little bit better lens with the f-stop starting at f2.0. But there's one difference which I don't like very much. So if you look to the back side of the camera, you will see that there's one thing missing compared to the G1X, and that's the viewfinder. The Mark II doesn't have a built-in viewfinder. The Mark II has these flash socket here, and there you see there are some connectors in the far end of this one. And yes, you can put an external electronic viewfinder on the camera. You can move the viewfinder up. So it's okay, you can use a viewfinder, but it's not a built-in viewfinder. And the problem is the external viewfinder moves the price up. So you have to buy the camera. In Germany it's around about 800 euro, and the electronic viewfinder costs you 230, 260 euro extra. So you're about over the 1,000 euro limit. And that's quite a lot for a compact camera. You get real good system cameras or mirrorless cameras for the same price. And I think the pricing in the US or in the other foreign countries is similar. So you get a real good camera, but it's a real high price you pay for a compact camera. As I said before, the last review I made was for the Sony Alpha 6000. That's this one. And the price is not the same, but it's very similar if you buy the 24 to 70 millimeter f4.0 lens to the Alpha. You're in the not exactly, but you're almost in the same price range. And when you compare the size of the both cameras, you will see it's not a real big difference. Okay, the lens of the Alpha 6000 is a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit heavier, but don't forget, the G1X Mark II, 560 grams. That's over. That's really good, over a pound. And the Alpha 6000 with this 1810 millimeter lens is about exactly the same weight. So the advantage of the compactness of a camera, it's not really given, because the wide is big, it's a big camera, and you don't have the viewfinder. You have to you have to put the viewfinder on top of the camera if you want to make a little bit more advanced photography, because on the monitor, when the sun is bright, like today in the summer, you won't see very good your scene. You can't put the exact out of focus point, and if you want to work in manual focus, it's quite difficult to see anything on the viewfinder on the monitor. So if you're a little bit more advanced photographer and want to get into it, you have to have the viewfinder, and that's moves the price real up, and so yeah, it's not a real cheap camera. As I said before, 5x zoom, 24 to 120 millimeter. Let's have a look to the main features of the camera and the menus. Here on top of the camera we have the on-off switch, we have the zoom lever, you can zoom here, you have the replay button, and you have the program dial. Starts with P. I move the monitor a little bit upwards so you can also see, you have also a good sight what happens on the monitor when I change the different settings. We have P, then we have, as usual, TV and AV for time value and aperture value. Then we have manual, and in the manual mode you have different ways to change the setting of shutter speed and of aperture, because you can individualize these two dials here and on the front lens and the dial on the back side of the camera. So the easy way is now you move the front lens and you see I change the shutter speed, the front dial, you move the second dial and you change, okay, you change here the shutter speed too. I think I've changed the settings. No, okay, now we are in the right mode. Here we have the shutter speed, here we have the aperture, and on the back dial we have the ISO setting. So that's very comfortable because you can customize this also in the other programs. That's very neat. Next point is Custom 1 and Custom 2. So there you have two options to customize the camera, and there you have two options to individualize your camera, so you can make settings, for example, for portrait and for landscape, and just turning the dial between C1 and C2, you get the different settings. Next point is the movie mode. Here you can make the different settings for movie, and then you have the different effect modes. I will show you which different settings you have. Yeah, just turning the front dial at the lens, you have the HDR mode, and then you have the nostalgic, then you have the fisheye effect, then you have miniature effect, toy camera effect, background defocus, then you have soft focus, monochrome, super vivid, and the poster effect. So these are the fun things in the camera which you can use. Next point on the camera is the scene mode. If you go to the scene mode, you also change the different scene modes here with a big dial on the lens. And here we start with the portrait mode. Then we have the smart shutter. We have star. Then we have handheld night scene. We have the underwater. We have snow, and we have firework. The underwater gives you the idea, yes, there is underwater, an underwater hosting, I think I say, underwater thing. You can put the camera, I don't know the word exactly now, underwater host? Home host? I don't know. But you know what I mean. You can put the camera for underwater, you can snorkel, or you can dive with the camera, so that's very nice. Next point is the creative shot, and in the creative shot you also have different settings. I don't know why they don't show the different settings here on top of the camera, but here in the corner of the camera. But the creative shot makes 3 pictures, and out of these 3 pictures you get 5 different settings. So there may be some nice effects. Just try them. Last point, or not the last point, next point is auto. There you get everything settings, every setting you get by the camera. And the last one is the hybrid auto, and there the camera makes, beside the still image, a movie and makes a diary, so you have a small diary if you go on holiday and want to just make some fun movies about your holidays. That's the right program. Okay, so let's have a short look into the menu, but no, just before I show you the buttons here on the back side. On the back side we have the button to connect with the iPhone, then we have, or the smartphone, then we have the button to start a movie. You have a customized button, you have manual focus, and you have the button to move the focus point, and we have the dial, and then we have the here you have the possibility to make the correction. Then you have flash, macro, and the ISO setting. In the middle you have the func set button. Here is the display button, and by pressing the display button you get different option here in the menu. You see I have the option where you can see every setting, and pressing the next time I have only the 3D level meter here at the camera. Last point is the menu, and that's the point where we'll have a short look in the menu to give you an idea which options you have with the G1X Mark II. As I said before, you have the different autofocus frame options, 1-point or phase auto-intelligent autofocus. Then you have the RF point zoom, Nervo RF, continuous RF, where the camera works all the time, the autofocus, or only pressing the shutter halfway down, shutter button halfway down. Then you have the autofocus assist beam in front of the camera. When it's a little bit darker, you need this one. You have the AF and MF. So you have first pressing the autofocus button, and then you have the choice to work with the manual focus to get the scene exactly in focus if you work like macro photography or something else. So you can use the manual focus for exact focusing. Next point is the manual focus point zoom. There you will see an area which zoom in, so you can work very exact with a manual focus. That's the manual focus point zoom. Then you have the safety manual focus. You have the peaking settings. Here you can switch on the peaking, set a level of the peaking and the color. What for is the manual focus peaking? So if you want to work in manual focus, sometimes it's not quite easy to see if the picture is real sharp. So the peaking helps you out, because on edges in the pictures, when the contrast has the maximum, the peaking shows you with a color line that the maximum is reached. So at this time the picture is absolutely sharp at this point, and therefore you need the peaking function. Next point is the flash control, ISO auto setting. In the ISO auto setting you can set the maximum ISO speed and you can set the rate of change. You have different settings here, from standard, fast to slow. So that means that the ISO is increasing at the rate you say here, slow, fast, or standard. So there's not the setting like at other cameras where you can set up shutter speed at which point the camera makes the next ISO step. That won't work here, so you don't have the direct steps, you have only the setting standard, slow or fast. Next point is the wind filter. If you use video mode, review image after shooting, here you can set how long you will see the picture, hold off quick, 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, and you can say if you want to display the info or detailed. Okay, so next point is the custom display. And in the custom display you can decide which setting you want to see when you press the display button. As I said before, in the setting number 1 I see everything, and in the setting number 2 I only see the electronic lever, and this you can customize for your needs, so that's quite nice. Next point is the night display. If you shoot in the night, it's dimmed the display. Function menu layout. The function menu I show you later a little bit more deep, but now here we see the function menu. You can set the different options. So you can say, okay, I want to have on the function option in the function menu not the DR correction. I don't want the shadow correct. I don't want the white balance. Yeah, and I don't want the I don't know what else, the self timer. Okay, and now you say display, and now you have the option to sort the different points. So if you want to have the 16:9 on top, just press your finger on it. Now it don't works. In a second. Oops, and move the point up, so you can do it by this also, and move the point up in the row, so you can customize your function menu very easy, and that's also quite nice. So say cancel, go back in the menu. Yeah, and that's one thing I don't like, because you always start at the beginning. There's no option to start at the last point. You have used customized night display that we have. Reverse display is for the selfie function. Then we have the IS setting, that's the image stabilizer, and you have here the difference between shoot only and off and continuous. Continuous means the image stabilizer works the whole time. Also, if you don't take a picture, the image stabilizer works the whole time when the camera is on. If you want to go a little bit on the battery and save some energy, you should use the mode shoot only, because in the shoot only mode the the image stabilizer works only if you make a picture, and so that's a little bit energy saving. Next point is the dynamic IS, and as I said in the German video, enhanced stabilization and reduced camera shake. I don't know, I have tried both, and I haven't seen quite a big difference, so you should try the both dynamic ES modes, and then you will see if you see a difference, then you can use the different settings. Next point is the face identification setting. So you have for different faces the face recognition, and here you have the function assignment, and that's what I said before. You can customize the ring and dial, because we have two here on the front and one on the back side, and you can customize this for the different programs. You can customize it for P. Here I have the correction on the front dial, the white balance, and the ISO setting on the back dial. Then we have manual time value on the front dial, change between time value and aperture value on the back dial, and ISO setting on this dial of the back, on the back side of the camera. So you have the different setting and the different program modes, and that's quite nice because so you can individualize the camera and you can make the settings very individual. Okay, and the next point is here you can customize the S button here on the side, and the video button here you can customize also. Save the settings, that's what I said before, that's the C1 and C2 setting here on the top dial. So you make your settings at the camera, you change every point you want, and then after you've changed it, you can save it to C1 or C2. So that's it. Now go to the setup menu. Here we have quite the points, you know, mute, volume, sound option, hints and tips, date, time. You have the time zone, lens retract, echo mode, power saving, LCD brightness, startup image, format the SD card, file numbering, create a folder, and the units, meter or feet, and electronic lever. You can justify or calibrate the electronic lever, video system, PALO NTSC, control via HDMI, touch operation on off, that's what I showed you before. If you want to have the touch operation, you have, now you see, now it's off, I have to do it manually. You have to turn the touch operation to on here, touch response, standard or high. And you have the Wi-Fi setting. Yes, the G1X Mark II has a Wi-Fi connection, so that's also a difference to the former model G1X. This one doesn't have the Wi-Fi connection. One word more to the Wi-Fi coming up. And you have the copyright info, certification, logo, language, reset, all that's it. And last but not least, my menu settings where you can individualize the menus. I don't use this one because I'm good enough with the standard menus. So let's have a look to the function menu. The function menu is quite similar to the quick menu on other cameras. So let's have a look at the function menu. So we have here we have the continuous shooting or single shoot. We have the spot metering or the evaluative or the center-weighted metering. Then we have the different sizes, 16:9, 3:2, 4:3, 1:1 and 4:5. I use 3:2. Then we have the different settings, JPEG, RAW or JPEG and RAW. And we have here the different sizes, 3 megapixel, the lowest is 0.3 megapixel, and going up to the highest 13 megapixel. One thing I will show you, if you go to the 16:9, and you choose the M2, then you have 1920 by 1080, so that's the original full HD format. So if you want to make pictures just for your TV at home, so that's quite nice because you shoot in the original format 1920 by 1080, so you don't have to go into your computer and change the format or cut the picture. You will have the perfect picture size here by choosing this one. Next point is superfine or fine. Here you have the different JPEG combinations, and at the last point we have the video mode, and in the video mode you have the option of full HD with 30p, so that means 30 full frame pictures per second, or you have the small HD resolution 1280 by 720, also 30 frames per second, or the VGA mode with 640 by 480, also with 30 frames per second. Okay, and then you have the bracketing. You have here different settings of the ND filter. Yes, the G1X Mark II has a built-in ND filter, so that's quite nice because you don't have to put an ND filter on the front lens if you want to make long exposure pictures in the daytime, so that's very good. Or if you want to use the maximum aperture of f2.0 in the daytime, so that's really good that you have the ND filter, the built-in ND filter here, and the self timer, and that's it. So that's the function menu. As I said before, we have a 3D level meter. Here you have the setting of the ISO. If you press the button and turn the dial, you go from a 100 ISO up to 12,800. That's the highest ISO setting. It's a little bit confusing because if you're in the ISO setting, you can't use the left-right button to change the ISO setting. You have to do it with the dial, so I think it's a little bit confusing, but once you get used to it, it's okay. Then you have the macro mode or the normal mode. If you're in the macro mode, you can go up to 5 centimeters from the front lens to your scene. The macro is much better than on the G1X, but still it's not a super macro. So it's a macro, it's really good, but it's not a super macro like other cameras have. Okay, so now we are in the autofocus mode. You can see this here on top. There's this short time autofocus. Then you have the correction mode, and the correction mode works with the front dial. You turn the front dial and you see you turn the front dial and you see you have the, sorry, I was in the picture. You turn the front dial and you see you make the changes. If you want to make a bracketing function, just press the button again and then press the display button, and now you can make the bracketing function. If you want to make the bracketing function plus exposure correction, just press the display button again, go up to the exposure correction and turn the front dial, and you see we can make the correction also for the bracketing function. So this works for the bracketing function also. Okay, so let's go back. Now, one thing I should mention, that's the white balance. We have different settings of the white balance. The white balance is here in the quick menu. Here is the white balance, and in the white balance we have the auto white balance and the different settings here. We don't have a setting directly in Kelvin, but you can work with the custom 1 and custom 2, so you can calibrate to a white sheet of paper or something else, and so you can customize the white balance also. So it's okay that they don't have a Kelvin setting because you have these two options here. Okay, so let's go back to the auto white balance. As I said before, we have the manual focus. When you press the manual focus and then turn the front dial, you have the different settings. You have the different settings here. You have the 2-time and the 4-time magnification just by pressing the display button, and so you can really good focus in. And here you see the yellow part, and that's the focus peaking in yellow. Just press again and you're in autofocus. If you want to move in autofocus the point, then you have to go, I have to go to the, here, you have to go to the 1 point, and if you're in the 1 point, just press the focus button, and then you can move the autofocus frame, as I said before, to a certain point where you want to get the picture sharp. Okay, so these are the main settings of the camera and the menu of the camera. It's quite easy to understand. There are some points where I'm not quite sure which ring I should use, but once you get used to it, it's absolutely okay, and you will find out. One last point, we have a built-in flash. Here on the side we have the button to release the built-in flash, and the built-in flash, you can move the built-in flash a little bit backwards. I can show you here a little bit better, a little bit backwards, so you can indirect flash over the ceiling. That's quite nice to have this feature. And you can for sure put an external flash, a bigger flash here on the camera. On the side we have the HDMI, USB and remote control. What we don't have is the option to use an external microphone. So there's no option to use an external microphone. Maybe there will be an external microphone here in the accessory shoe, but by now we don't have an external microphone. The only thing we have is the external electronic viewfinder, which you can put here on the accessory shoe of the G1X Mark II. Talking about the Wi-Fi connection, yes, you have a Wi-Fi connection. You can connect the camera to your smartphone. On the side you have the logo of the NFC chip, that's near field communication. So if you have a smartphone with an NFC chip, you can connect the camera very easy with your smartphone. But honestly, the only option you have is to see your pictures. Okay, that's nice. You can copy the pictures from the camera to your smartphone, so you can send it via Facebook or Flickr. That's quite okay. But the remote control or the remote work with a smartphone is very poor. You cannot change the aperture, you cannot change the focus. The only thing you can do is make a picture and use the self-timer, nothing more. Yes, you can zoom, sorry, that's one thing you can do, you can zoom, but there are no options to change the settings of the camera. And so there are other companies like Panasonic, Sony or Olympus, which are far more advanced in the Wi-Fi combination smartphone with cameras, where you can make real good the settings, or where you can make a lot of settings. Yeah, with the Canon, I don't know why they are still behind the needs of the market. I would love to have the option to change the settings from my smartphone to remote control the G1X as far as possible. One important point is talking about the battery. That's a new one, so you can't use the battery of the G1X, and the problem with this battery, it has a chip inside, so there are no other companies which are building spare batteries for the G1X by now. I hope it will change, and so you have to buy the expensive battery original from Canon. And I give you the advice, buy a second one, because this one, it's okay, but it's very fast empty. So the camera is big, the sensor is big, they have the big screen, and so the battery don't last very long. So do you a good thing and buy a second battery. You have an external battery charger, so that's no problem. You can work in the camera with one battery and charge the extra battery outside of the camera, so that's very nice. But the battery is still now is very expensive, because there are no other factories or other companies who build spare batteries for the G1X. Okay, so that was the overview of the Canon G1X. Talking about picture quality, that's one of the questions. Yes, picture quality is really good. Also in the high ISO setting, the picture quality is good. Please go to my Flickr account, Ralfs Foto-Bude. There you will see the test pictures in full resolution JPEG, so you can compare it by yourself. You can download the picture to your computer and check the quality of the picture. And also in my test on www.ralfsfotobude.de, sorry, only in German, but still there, I also show the picture quality. Yes, the picture quality is good. But honestly, I wish that the sensor would have 14, 16 or 18 megapixel, because then I would have more detailed picture. The noise problem is real perfect. You have absolutely no noise in the low ISO setting, and also in the higher ISO settings you have really less noise, so the picture quality is good. But the detail resolution, the fine details, I think it could be a little bit better, and I think a little bit more noise in the high ISO settings. I could deal with this, but I would love to have a little bit more details in the low ISO setting. So, okay, I have to deal with it. And as I said before, picture quality is good, and the big advantage of this camera compared to other compact cameras is the big sensor size, where you can work perfect with the depth of field, and when you work on aperture f.2 in the wide angle or in the mid area with 3.0, you can you can make real good pictures, sharp in the front, unsharp in the background, so that's a real nice DSLR look which you can get with this camera. Okay. That's it for today. G1X Mark II, the new Canon PowerShot. If you like my video, please give me a like and subscribe my channel. You can share this movie or the video, and I would love to see you here on my YouTube channel to watch the next videos I make. There are some more cameras coming up in the next few weeks. So yeah, the holiday is over and now we can work. And in this year also we have the Foto-Bude in Germany, and there will come up in September much more cameras, and so this will get a real hot year. Yeah, so join me on my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching me, and always I say bye bye and moin moin.